My garden is transitioning from summer crops to fall crops. Let's take a look at some of those. Here we have some chard that's been growing all summer. It'll be ready to harvest now, all the way through probably next March. Behind that are some carrots, which are also ready to harvest now, some of them, but they can also stay in the ground just as a way to store them till as long as probably January, early January. In this area, I removed some summer crops and replaced it with a fall crop, in this case kale. I started these kale plants in 6 packs as seeds on August 1st, and then when the transplants got large enough, I transplanted them into the garden on about September 1st. But not everywhere in my garden is going to have food crops during the wintertime. Some of it's going to be barren or fallow. Let's take a look at how to manage some of those areas that you aren't going to plant with food crops during the winter. Back in this area, I've removed the summer crops and the soil is bare. And also you can see here, I want to show you some bean plants, some pole beans that are starting to die back, but are probably good for a few more weeks before I need to remove them. One way to manage the soil in this area during the winter to prevent weeds from growing and to reduce erosion is to cover the soil with burlap. A lot of people use these coffee bags that they can get from coffee roasters and just place those on the soil during the wintertime. Doesn't do much to improve the quality of the soil. One step further to improve the quality is to add mulch, like a leaf mulch or compost during the wintertime. That will also help keep the weeds down a little bit, and it will also add organic matter to the soil and some nutrients probably as the organic matter decomposes. But an even better way to improve the quality of your soil during the wintertime is to use a cover crop. What's a cover crop? A cover crop is a plant that grows during the off-season, during the times of the year when your garden would normally be fallow, that helps improve the quality of your soil. There are a couple of types of plants that are used as cover crops here in the Pacific Northwest. Some of those plants are grasses. These are 2 examples: cereal rye and annual ryegrass. Grasses are good as cover crops because they scavenge nutrients from the soil. They provide rapid coverage of the soil and outcompete weeds very effectively. Another option, another type of plant that you can grow are legumes. Here are some examples of legumes. Fava beans, sometimes called bell beans, common vetch, and one of my favorites, Austrian winter pea. One of the additional benefits of growing a legume as a cover crop is that they add nitrogen to the soil. They do this because they have a symbiotic relationship with soil bacteria. The soil bacteria invades the root hairs of the bean plant and forms a small nodule. Within that nodule, the bacteria fix nitrogen. The bacteria get sugars from the plant and the plant gets nitrogen from the bacteria, a symbiotic relationship that benefits both organisms. In the spring, when you cut the cover crop back, either the grass or the legume, then any nutrients that were taken up or held in the plant will be returned to the soil. Plus, as the plant decomposes, you'll get additional benefit from the organic matter that's produced. Next, I want to show you just how to plant the cover crop, or one of the ways I plant my cover crop in my garden. I have actually a mixture. I talked about using one or the other grasses or legumes. You can also use a mixture of a grass and a legume as a cover crop. The advantage of that is you get the fast coverage of the grass plus the benefit of the nitrogen fixation from the legume. To plant my cover crop, I'm going to rough up the soil a little bit and make little ridges with my rake. I'm also going to do it over here where I have my summer crop. This particular mix gets added to the soil at about the rate of 0.5 or half a pound per 100 square feet. I'm just going to broadcast it by hand. You'll notice that I'm planting it over here where I have the other crop growing, because my cover crop can get established while my summer crop is still in the ground. And I'll remove my summer crop later and my cover crop will already be established. So remember those little ridges I made? Now I'm just going to cover those up by pulling the rake across the soil surface. And most of the seed is getting buried by doing that. To make sure I have good contact between the seed and the soil, I tamp the soil down with the head of the rake. Then I'll come back in and water it. Over the next couple weeks, the plants will grow during the first warm days of fall, the first rains will start to come, and they'll continue to grow. The cover crop will be well established, and then will continue to grow into the fall and the winter, but more slowly. Next spring, I will come in and I will cut the cover crop back, chop it into pieces, and till it into the ground. By doing that, it will release the nutrients that have been stored in the plants over the winter and also add the organic matter back to the soil. You want to do that process about 2 to 4 weeks before you plant your spring or summer crop, so there's plenty of time for the plants to start to decompose and release those nutrients so they're available. If you want more information about cover crops, you can consult a couple of publications from Washington State University Extension. Methods for Successful Cover Crop Management in Your Home Garden, and 2 companion publications, Cover Crop for Home Gardens West of the Cascades, and Cover Crops for Home Gardens East of the Cascades. Give cover crops a try. It'll improve the quality of your soil in your garden. It'll also make your gardens green during the winter when they would otherwise be covered with burlap bags or covered with mulch and just be brown. It's a great thing to look out on your garden in the middle of winter and see that it's green. So with a little planning of now, you can improve your soil and reap the benefits next summer.